In this terrifying and scary world, we sometimes have trouble finding God in what we do, and even throughout the day. So this plan is called "God is with you in the unexpected," and these are what each one of these will hold for the next 2 days. So we are going to go ahead and start this. The door of hope. Our lives are often marked by twists and turns, unexpected events, and important moments of decision. Will we say yes or no? Will we turn to the right or to the left? Do we have a choice, or have we found ourselves at a dead end or a brick wall? The Bible is full of stories of women who encountered unexpected events, faced their own dead end or brick wall moments, and discovered amid this place of despair that God had, in fact, provided a way through. God gave each of them a door by which they could walk from despair to hope, from shame to acceptance, and from isolation to community. Today, as you face an unexpected event of your own, an unexplained pregnancy, you too may be feeling a wave of emotions and a heightened sense of insecurity. What should you do? How will your life change? This reading plan is designed with you in mind. Like the woman in the Bible, God too wants to provide a door for you to walk through. A door that leads to hope, acceptance, and communication. From despair to hope, Hagar's story. In Genesis 16, we encounter a young woman faced with her own unexpected pregnancy. Thrust from her home and the life she once knew, Hagar is now pregnant. Abandoned and in despair, there seems to be no way forward for Hagar. No way she can return to her past life, and no way she can build a future life for herself. Awash with despair, Hagar runs into the desert and falls beside a spring of water. There, in the middle of grief and hopelessness, Hagar encounters the Lord. He asks her to share her plight with him, to pour out her emotions, fears, and desperate needs. And the Lord sees her, and in all her fear and brokenness, and gives Hagar promises related to her future and her child's future. The one who gives birth to Hagar's lungs and life to the child in the womb, the Creator God sees her and hears her and offers her a new future. Many years later, when the child had grown, Hagar once again found herself on the run and desperate. See Genesis 21. And yet again, the Lord met her in the desert and asked her to share her fears and concerns with him, and affirmed his promises regarding her and her son's future. Each time, God saw Hagar and heard her. In the wilderness of despair, God gave her hope for the future. This is why Hagar fondly names God, the God who sees me. And in all honesty, this is a side note. In my story with Shefe, it's kind of the same way. He has a lot of issues going on with him, but God still sees him and is with him. God promises a similar thing to his people in Hosea 2, and he makes this same promise to all who turn to God in prayer and desperation. When we go astray from God's good path for our lives and find ourselves in a dark valley of trouble or a wilderness of despair, God finds us in that very plain and offers us a door of hope. He offers us a way out to a new future. Like Hagar, God invites us to enter into dialogue with him, pouring out our troubles and confessing our any ways that we disobeyed him and sinned. From this place of repentance, God then invites us into a new relationship with him. God wants to meet each of us exactly where we are and to make what seems to be impossible possible through a relationship with himself. As the God who sees all, he is also able to lead us into a future we never thought possible and be with us as we navigate the journey ahead. He can make a door of hope in the wilderness of trouble. As you read the stories in Genesis and Hosea, how do you hear the Lord speaking to you? How can you pour out your heart to him today? What sins or past behaviors do you need to confess and leave behind to walk into the restored relationship He is offering? What do you hear God speaking over you in terms of His love and plans for you and your child? Hmm. I thought that this plan would be more catered to finding God in the unexpected, like, life situations, or like you feel like you're being overwhelmed. But yeah, I guess this one works too. Whoops. Now Sarai, Abraham's wife, had borne him no children, but she had an Egyptian slave named Hagar. So she said to Abram, "The Lord has kept me from having child. Go sleep with my slave. Perhaps I can build a family through her." Abraham agreed to do what Sarai said. So after Abraham had been living in Canaan 10 years, Sarai his wife took her Egyptian slave Hagar and gave her to her husband to be his wife. He slept with Hagar, and she conceived. When she knew she was pregnant, she began to despise her mistress. She. Early the next morning, Abraham took some food and a skin of water and gave them to Hagar. He set them on her shoulders and then sent her off with the boy. She went on her way and wandered in the desert of Beersheba. When the water and the skin was gone, she put the boy under one of the bushes, and then she went off and sat down about a bow shot away, for she thought, "I cannot watch the boy die." And as she sat there, she began to sob. God heard the boy crying, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, "What is the matter, Hagar? Do not be afraid. God has heard the boy crying as he lies there. Lift the boy up and take him by the hand, for I will make him into a great nation." Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. So she went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy a drink. God was with the boy as he grew up. He lived in the desert and became an archer. That's kind of cool. Therefore, I am now going to allure her. I will lead her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her. There I will give her back her vineyards, and will make the valley of Achor a a door of hope. There she will respond as in the days of her youth, as in the day she came up out of Egypt. In that day, declares the Lord, you will call me my husband. You will no longer call me my master. I will remove the names of the Baals from her lips. No longer will their names be invoked. In that day I will make a covenant for them, within the beasts of the field, the birds in the sky, and the creatures that move along the ground. Bow and sword and battle I will abolish from the land, so that all may lie down in safety. I will betroth you to me forever. I will betroth you in righteousness and justice, in love and compassion. I will betroth you in faithfulness, and you will acknowledge the Lord. In that day I will respond, declares the Lord. I will respond to the skies, and they will respond to the earth. And the earth will respond to the grain, and the new wine and the olive oil. They will respond to Jezreel. I will plant her for myself in the land. I will show my love to the one I called not my loved one. I will say to those called not my people, you are my people. And they will say, you are my God. I believe he is talking about the Gentiles. And there we go. No. But yeah, so yeah, those are the that's part 1 of 3 of the unexpected. Maybe August 20th and 21st will have different scenarios, but yeah, it's amazing what God can do with the unexpected. You know, I am inside of a house I never thought I would have. When I was young, I thought about a house, but I never thought I'd be able to have one. And as I lived in apartments, I never thought I was actually going to be able to have a house. I thought I was going to be living in apartments my entire life. But 4.5, almost 5 years later, God was like, "Well, here's a house." And it's a fixer-upper, we're putting work into it. And, we're going to make it a duplex. My sister will get the top, and I will get the bottom. And there's times where I feel, like I kind of got gypped because it's like, gee, couldn't have gotten this sooner. But then again, I get reminded that we are working on God's timetables, not our own. And I'm very grateful that God has given me a house to be able to live in, you know, and we have a fantastic loan plan as well as payment system set up so that way, um, we can pay off the house, as quickly as possible. And yeah, if all things work out, there's a possibility we can have the house paid off in 15 years. And hopefully the house in about a year or so will be all the way fixed up and it'll be as if it's brand new. And on top of that, we are going to be building equity. And yeah, all this stuff was completely unexpected. But, God continues to provide for us each and every day through whatever means necessary. And it's kind of funny. On Craigslist or Marketplace or whatever, people are just getting rid of things for free because they're like, just get this crap out of here. So we have gotten so many free things for our house because of this. And, we have our own garage where we can store things. We have a 15,000-foot lot that we live on. That's a third of an acre. That's pretty freaking big place if you ask me. So yeah, and I'm gonna have my own yard. My sister will have her own yard, and then we're gonna have like a backyard, which will be kind of both our areas. So I mean, that's pretty freaking cool if you ask me. And yeah, I'm currently living in a temporary bedroom, but the top portion of the house is, livable. And then the bottom portion of the house is pretty much we are ripping up the foundation and pouring blocks into the ground so that way the house can rest on those, and then we will re-pour the a new foundation piece, a new floor, and then we will put leveling compound on that, and that will allow me to have completely flat floors because we had a couple people do checks of the houses and of the house, and they say that it shouldn't be settling anymore. Besides that, so I mean that's pretty darn cool. So I mean I'm happy with that. And yeah, there's going to be a lot more unexpected things that God does, but He's going to pull us through it. So yeah, there's really cool things that are happening. So yeah, whenever you are encountering something unexpected, just talk to God, and He will guide you. You know, so, I just give your plans or your thoughts to God. Be like, "Hey, I have a house now, God, but I don't know what to do. Please guide me." And He will. You just gotta keep your ears open and be ready to act when He says to. And yeah, He may act in ways that you never thought, He would. Like He will work through people that you never thought were. He can even turn enemies into tools for your well-being. Like, there could be like, there's a story that that's been told that this woman has always had food provided for her by God, and whenever she has prayed, she would find food, for her on her doorstep and enough for her family. But then there was a time where she had no money or food, and she was afraid, so she prayed. And then she was on this talk show on the last bit of her food and saying, well, what her, testimony was of God providing her food. And this smarty pants was like, heh. And then, I thought about it, and he was like, fine, I'll buy her $200 worth of food. And back in that day, it was a crap ton of food, like tons of canned goods, tons of bread, meat, just give her like an entire like month's supply of food pretty much. And yeah, he and the radio show host, when they were interviewing this guy, was like, "Wow, why'd you buy her so much? And who can we put the name under for for buying her groceries?" And the guy who thought about it and was like, "Put it under the name Satan." Which is kind of ominous and creepy. But, when the nice lady was interviewed after she received all the groceries, after she was so overjoyed, seeing a magnormous amount of groceries, they were like, this guy named Satan provided you your groceries. What are your thoughts on that? And she just said proudly and happily, when God calls, even Satan himself must answer. And that's a really powerful story. So, yeah, God provides in crazy and unimaginable ways. And when I heard that story, I was like, "Dang!" it was it was pretty freaking cool. So yeah, when God calls, even Satan himself must obey. So yeah, and I'm not sure what happened to the guy afterward. Maybe this turned the guy's life around. I hope it did. But yeah, it was kind of cool, and that story stayed with me for years and years and years, even to this day. And yeah, that's one of the things that stays with me whenever I'm afraid of what's going to happen. God provides, and it's a very very beautiful thing. So yeah, I want this story to be an encouragement to you guys, and this will be part one, and hopefully part two will come tomorrow on time, and things should cycle through. So yeah, thank you guys for being here for part one, and I hope that you guys will be here for part two. You guys stay awesome, and always remember, God bless.